Hi friends, it's Sarah with Ruffles and Rainbows, and we're making a classic from my site, Mickey Mouse inspired gnome. If you'd like to make him, boop, stick around. As always, please like this video so I know you're here crafting with me. We're going to start out with some yellow buttons, a black men's sock from the Dollar Tree. We're going to have some faux fur, black and red felt, and then some just gnome making supplies. But before we get started,
I'm here with a friendly gnome reminder to subscribe. How? Just click that red subscribe button below and then the bell for turning on all notifications. Now let's get back to Sarah and the crafts.
I'm having a lot of fun making those. And I'm having a lot of fun making gnomes. So let's start with our Mickey body. We're going to use a sock, we're going to use a funnel, and we're going to use any kind of weight. And we're going to spill it everywhere. As with all stock gnomes, we're going to put a bit of weight at the bottom, a little polyfill on top. Now, don't tie it off yet. Put your hand inside, use your thumb and pointer to make a little loop of fabric and polyfill, and then tie that off because that's going to be the easiest gnome nose ever. Do you know how many times I had to say gnome nose to get that right? All right, so we're going to tie off the top. We're going to cut off the top, and as always, I like to add a little bit of hot glue just to the join points to make sure that nothing ever explodes. I have children and dogs. Well, just one. All right, so we're going to take you down memory lane. This is the old way I did it. I used stiff felt on top of a completed hat, and I just didn't like the way it looked. Now, we're going to redo it with a new way for ears. If this is what you have, use it. Just make sure you do a better job with the hot glue than I did. I'm going to be using something that I use to make Mickey ears, and that is these green scrubbies from the dollar store. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating a circle. It's a couple inches big. Again, this is going to depend on how big your gnome body is. But all I'm going to do is cut out a circle from this scrubby material. It is bendable, it is waterproof, it is amazing, and you can glue anything to it. So what we're using is I'm using a paint bottle, and we're just going to cut off sort of an arc so that we can line that up right next to our gnome body so that we can really make sure that's secure. It works on headbands, so it works on this guy too. All right, so we're just a tip, go ahead and cut that second one out while you have this. And now we're going to take our felt and we're going to just cut an outline. Super easy, you don't need a pattern, there's nothing hard about this. Leave about a 1/2 inch seam allowance and then start snipping. Now on one of my ears I did a good job, this one I did a bad job. Snip closer to the edge because what's going to happen is when you start to lay it down, you're going to have little bumps that you can push out later, but it's just easier to do it right the first time. All right, so all I'm going to do is burn myself and put a little hot glue down and flip up each of these tabs all the way around. Now, you don't need a lot of hot glue. This does adhere really, really well. I'm just snipping off any little bits of fabric that are left so that the back piece will lie down flat. Now, speaking of the back piece, we're just going to go ahead and use our ear as our template for the back piece, and we're just going to cut it out and put it right on top. Now, the only thing here is just take your scissors and cut the very bottom of that to make sure nothing hangs over the edge. That's it. And then you're just going to repeat all this for the second ear. Woohoo! All right, easiest gnome hat ever. You're going to measure the width of your gnome with a little bit of a seam allowance for glue, and then you're going to make a rounded off triangle. Clean up your edges and start at the very top for this one because you're going to have a little extra fabric. And so what we're going to do is measure twice, cut once. Hey, that dad advice sure does come in handy with making gnomes. We're just going to start here, add a little bit of hot glue, press it down. Ooh, try not to burn yourself, or be smart and use hot glue finger protectors or pencil or anything. So as you move your way down this hat, the easiest hat ever, you're going to cut off this extra, and if you want to make arms, leave that there and make some arms. So you're just going to finish it all the way down and clean up the bottom if you have any edge hanging over. Now, for those of you new to my channel, I'm going to link how to cut faux fur at the top, but for those who are not, choose whether or not you want a wraparound beard or just a partial. This is a shelf sitter. No one ever sees the back, so I'm going to do a partial. You're going to cut a U shape. Right here you can see it. And then, oh. I don't know if there's anything more fun than brushing out faux fur. Look how much the difference it makes. Seriously. So nice. Okay, enough of that. So once you have everything brushed out or designed how you want it, we're going to go ahead and tuck that up under the nose and just make sure it wraps around. Now, one thing about hot gluing this stuff down, I will say, I have a lot of people ask, how can I fix things afterwards? Make sure when you're hot gluing this top edge, don't pull it down. So you're going to make sure you want to pull it around and up a little bit, because what happens is a lot of times it pokes out from under the hat when you point it down. All right, so speaking of that hat, you can choose to stuff a little polyfill in there like I did, or leave it alone. But what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we have our placement for our ears correct. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we pull down our hat. We're going to get a little bit of width at the bottom so that we do have a little bit of scrunch. And then we're going to affix our ears right to this body. Just a little hot glue, super simple. And we're just going to add that bead of hot glue here. And just one thing of note, you will need to hold this. Magic of video editing, I'm not gonna, but you will need to hold this there until it's set. And then you're just going to make sure it's secure and repeat on the other side. Now I am choosing to lift up the very back edge of my fur. You can see I'm making sure it's even. Do put a little bead of hot glue on here, and then place it, and then pick up your gnome to make sure these are even. A lot of the times, one of the questions I get is, how do I fix it after the fact? That's about it. All right, so here I just added a little polyfill into the hat, and now I'm going to cut the placement of the hat. Now this is 100% preference, how high or how far down you want to start this. I chose about 1 inch, and I'm going to make a horizontal, not vertical, horizontal snip right there. Now that's going to do two things. It's going to allow me a front and back piece. You can see there. And now I'm going to go as high as the ear. Now remember, this ear bends. It's malleable, so we don't have to go the width of the entire ear or the diameter of the entire ear. We just have to go enough where we can slip that ear in. Okay, you can see here I'm at the bottom, and then I'm going to have a little bit of another horizontal slit at the top. Again, I'm creating a front piece and a back piece with that little slit. So I'm going to show you, because I know sometimes you have to see it to, be invited into my brain. But what we're going to do, you see that little flap right there? We're actually going to flip that backwards so that you don't see A, the glue, because it really bothered me on my other Mickey gnome, and B, so it looks like it's just part of it, okay? So now we're going to make sure we line everything up, and we're going to do that on the other side. So we do our horizontal snip, then our vertical, stopping way short of where we think we need to be, because measure twice, cut once. Again, my dad is coming out in my crafting. So then we're going to do our horizontal slit, and now you can see I'm going to actually squish this little ear in some places so that I can get it through there. I'm going to do the same thing with this guy. And again, your hot glue. I use Gorilla hot glue. That's another question I'm asked all the time. I believe it makes a difference. It could just be in my head, but I promise you, I tug on things. My dog has attacked half my gnomes. I just really believe sometimes that the better the glue is, the better the end project. Same with the faux fur, right? Okay, so once you have it all pulled down, what we're going to do is we're going to flip that little flap, flip that flap backwards. I'm cracking myself up over here. I hope you're enjoying yourself too. But we're going to flip the flap backwards on both the front and the back, and that's where we're going to add the hot glue so that no one can see it. Now, I will tell you, if you make a mistake on hot glue, let it dry. Don't try and wipe it away. Once it's dry, just, sort of cut at it horizontally with a razor blade. It'll come right off. Ask me how I know that. I make a lot of mistakes. Okay, so now we're going to do the front side here. And it doesn't take a lot of glue, but you do want to make sure you put the whole line. Don't just try and tack the top and the bottom. Otherwise, it does this weird pucker thing. Also, ask me how I know. All right, so now we're just going to make sure that that's sitting right. We have it. It looks like it's coming right out of the hat, right? Okay, now you're just going to repeat this for the second ear. And if you do have polyfill, just tuck it back in. And if you can see a little bit of your faux fur, just tuck that back in as well before you make your glue. Make it last forever. I don't know. I've had like 3 hours of sleep, so I apologize if I'm a little wonky on the editing of this video. Okay, so now we have both sides done here, just adding a little bit of hot glue, sticking it down. All right, and now we're gonna finalize, oh, lint. Now we're gonna finalize this hat. So I chose to put a squishy hat and pull down the front. I like all those wrinkles, right? Do you like the wrinkles? I love the wrinkles. I like anything fuzzy, and I like the wrinkles. Okay, so now all we're gonna do is get that lint, and now we're gonna just hot glue this down. And you can choose to hot glue it down in a couple places. I usually do the very top crease and then this part down here. You are going to need to hold it. And then we're going to add in our 2 little buttons and stand this fellow up, because guess what? You're done! Isn't he adorable? I love him so much more than my other one. Now, the other one was great, but this guy, he just looks so pretty. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And you see those little ear, edges? Be sure to press down those creases. I did it afterwards. You can see it here in the final picture. Hey, thanks for being here with me. Please like and subscribe to Ruffles and Rain Boots for more crafty fun.